So does everybody have the subwoofer that they're attempting to build for? Because what you need is you need the specs of the subwoofer that you're trying to build for pulled up. You'll need the WinISD pulled up as well, because that's what we're going to use. And then we'll use the Subbox Pro as well. And we're going to use these couple things to make our subwoofer box. Why is that ad so big?
If nothing else, to keep the screen from being so long, I can just follow what you're doing.
That's fine too.
Because that'll give me some, some kind of idea how to run it.
Okay, so I have the Miso 8, and I'm gonna go on the website and I'm gonna pull up the enclosure specs on the website. So it says specs and it says box specs. So I'm gonna use a CT woofer, and their website's put together pretty well. I know not everybody has that, but it makes it pretty simple when you have a woofer that has spec pages. So on the CT spec page, it says, okay. Let me do. Okay, so now everybody can kind of see my screen here. So we'll go from there. So what you need is you've got your WinISD over here, which apparently can't go on the side. And you'll want your subwoofer spec page over here. So on the website, man, why is everything not formatted to squish down? What's up with that? I think something.
Damn. Hey, what is that high pitched whistle?
That ain't mine.
Sound like someone's phone.
I don't know. I don't hear nothing like that. Maybe it's me.
Nah, I hear it too.
What does it sound like?
Hold on, I'm gonna shut my computer down and make sure it's not me.
You're gonna shut it down while you're on it?
No, I'm on my phone too.
Oh, you're on the phone.
I've got like multiple thingies.
Yeah.
I got my phone and my laptop open. Right. No, that ain't me. Damn it, George.
I don't know. I don't hear it.
It just happened, what, once or twice? Sounds like a ringing.
Yeah, it did sound like ringing, didn't it?
Yeah, somebody's got some hellacious feedback going. Yeah, it's got a ringing like off and on.
I don't know. I hear like kid toys or something going on, but that's pretty much all that I hear.
Okay, I'm gonna flip my camera off and just watch. Yeah, I need to do that. That way we can just make his screen bigger.
You should be able to just click on my screen and it'll pull it up bigger.
Yeah. Okay, there it is.
Alright, so when everybody's got their woofer, let me know, and then I'll go into the next step. So you need the specs of your woofer that you're trying to do, and you need the WinIC software. That's the two things that you need. So hard to hear, they say. Oh my gosh. Okay, so is it me that you can barely hear, or is it everybody that you can barely hear?
Oh, I can hear you fine now, dude.
Yeah, but the guys on the YouTubes are like, Andy says, sounds like someone is playing a Game Boy. I'm guessing
It's kind of like somebody playing with like a kid's slide whistle, really.
Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Okay. I don't know why the hell this is looking like that.
That's not what I wanted. What in the world?
I'm trying to figure it out.
Honestly, wish I knew more about this stuff.
Kind of sounds like a hospital room, doesn't it? Yeah. That beeping noise. Yeah, yeah, it does. I was trying not to think about it that way.
Well, dude, dude's got
Alright. Got me.
He's got the oxygen thingy, right?
That's alright. Log in, you silly bastard.
Hey.
Sometimes I think my laptop feels like I do.
Hey, that could work. Where did I find that from? Oh, there we go. Alright, switch.
My Google security is really pissing me off. Yeah, it sucks a lot. Yeah, I've got it locked up like Fort Knox, and sometimes it really pisses me off with how many damn verifications I gotta go through. Yeah. And if I forget one, then it kicks me out of every damn thing. Yeah, and then you can't log back in because security reasons. Exactly. Come on, you son of a bitch.
How do I put a different window? I just want a different window. Definitely on your end. Check my game. So for the guys on YouTube, you guys can see my gain right here. It's really not very high, and I really don't know what's going on. feel like it would show any other crazy stuff on there. I really wish I had a different.
It could. I don't know, unless it's your mic, dude.
All right, well, we can check that theory. I don't know that that would be it, but we can check it.
Yeah, I don't either, but it's theory.
All right, you guys can hear me now? That's way higher.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, that's way better.
Did it work?
It's gone.
Really?
Yeah, it's gone. It was your mic.
Okay. I don't know why that would be then. So, okay, so everything worked better now. The guys on YouTube, hopefully that works a little bit better. I need to try to figure out how to get my screens to work because I want to put 2 different screens on here and I don't have. And
Yeah, it's got all of our pictures up there on there too. Like our video chat.
yeah, well, I mean, I've got that kind of put down at the bottom. I'm just trying to get the screens that I actually want to work up there, which all I really want is... That's not what I wanted. Okay. Okay, so for those who who don't know or who just joined into the chat, we're going to be designing a subwoofer box. In my case, I'm just going to use this little miso 8 right here. I'm actually going to be doing 3, but I'm going to be pulling the specs off of this miso 8, and we're going to dump those specs into WinISD, and then we are going to model it with Subbox Pro. Subbox Pro is a free software that's on the internet where you can go and design a subwoofer enclosure, and it will give you a build sheet, a cut sheet. However, it only works for ported enclosures, and really all it does is draws you a 3D model based on the math that the port needs to work. Basically, the volume of the enclosure and the size and diameter and the length of the port and the shape of the port and all that stuff, and it helps you model it into such a way where the math is correct. That's really the only benefit to it, is that it has an algorithm that basically says the box needs to be this big and the port needs to be this big, and it's up to you to make that work. So can you guys see my screen right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have my WinISD right here, and then I have the internet over here, and the internet has a couple different things going on with it. So I'm using a CT Sounds woofer in this case. You can use whatever woofer you want. The process is the same. But on the CT Sounds website, they've got where it says specs and box specs. So the specs is going to be very important because it has all the TS parameters that you need. And of course, the box specs is going to be important because it, actually in reality, for what we're doing here, the box specs, we're not going to go by that. We're going to determine our own box specs using the software. That's what the software does. Is it will tell you how big the enclosure needs to be, and it will tell you how big the port needs to be, and it'll tell you what frequency to tune to. Then what you do is you come over to the Subbox Pro software, and you enter in these parameters until it doesn't look like a total pile of crap, and then you can actually build something based on that. So if you open the Subbox Pro, if you guys are following along, open up your Subbox Pro, because there's a few things that I like to change first and foremost before you ever get started with the software. The first thing I like to do is go down immediately and change the 0.63 to 0.75 because that is the material thickness.
Yeah.
And immediately, because so many people get their whole design made and realize huge difference. The second thing I do is I go ahead and put the total height of the enclosure. That's your first dimension. In my case, it's 11 inches. Yours may be different. That's going to be the height where the subwoofer box is going to go. So if it's going on a hatchback, that is going to be, say, from the floor to the back to the top of the rear seats. Or if you're putting in a trunk, that's going to be from the floor to the, whatever's hanging lowest in the deck. If you got rear deck speakers or anything like that, that'll be your lowest hanging fruit. So you need to change your height, change your material thickness, and the next thing I'm going to change is the actual subwoofer size. If you go in here on the bottom if you scroll down, so you got all your dimensions right here, but if you scroll down, it'll say box subwoofer port. Okay, so box is going to be the actual box dimensions. The subwoofer is going to be the parameters on the subwoofer. So we're going to need some of that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 subwoofers in here because apparently they can do that, and 8-inch because apparently we can do that too. This works from 3.5 or what is this? 6.5 to 15-inch subwoofers. Right, so you can see on my screen here I've got 3 8-inch woofers on there. You can tell that it doesn't work all that great. It doesn't look all that great. We're going to get to that. Don't worry about that. So then what we need is I'm going to go to the port, and you can choose whatever port style you want. If you want a pipe, if you want 2 pipes, whatever it is that you want for your port. So you can see in this case right here, it's just got a huge round arrow port. So that's basically going to be your arrow port. And then I'm actually going to do slot port front panel. All right. And there's a reason why I do this. One, because if you're tuning lower, your port is going to be really long. So this software will actually have the ability to port out the front and come along. Now, if you're going to build something that's going to go, say in a hatchback, and you want port back sub up, that's fine. You can build that exact same thing. You just need to look at the subwoofer a little differently in the software here. So we'll just go through that for an example, especially for you, Charles. You may want to do a sub up port back for your little hatch build.
I am.
Okay, so what we're gonna do?
I've actually got one I'm working on. It's kind of top secret.
All right. So what you got? So here's what the way I do that. Okay, you can, because remember, this subwoofer, this box gives you the math. So what you would do is you would build something like this right here. So you see how this kind of is designed. You would just kind of ignore the subwoofers.
I'm trying to get your screen to actually pop up. That's the one person that I cannot see is you. Yours just sits there and keeps loading and loading and loading. But I'm listening to you.
Well, but it doesn't help if you can't see my screen, right?
Right, but I've got Speaker Box Pro pulled up on mine, and I'm listening to you and kind of following where you're at.
You got Subbox Pro or Speaker Box Pro?
Subbox Pro.
Okay, because that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you do is for everybody else, you can see here that if you're wanting to put this in a hatchback, this would obviously be the height from here to here. That's going to be like your depth is going to end up being your height. Because you would take this whole contraption here and you would simply turn it on its side. So in this case, your height of the box would actually be your width. So if you go back to box, say your width is 36 inches wide. That's how wide your seats are, right? So you can do right here 36 inches, and you see this contraption we have here. That's pretty much exactly what you would end up with if you were going to do something like that. Now, obviously, as you make your box bigger, because say you're doing 15s or something like that, you just want to ignore the actual subwoofers on there. So this is 2.3. We'll make that 5 cubic foot to kind of show you what that would actually look like. So if you're going to put a box in the back of a truck or in the back of an SUV, and you wanted something that's like more pancake style like this, now mind you don't have to use the same port design right here, but I know that a lot of guys will. You can put little braces in there, and you can do this exact design right here. It's just in this software, it's on its side, and that's really the best you can do. As long as you can visualize it properly, this will give you the math to do it properly. So like this box right here, you can do like 412s or something like that in this style box. And then you can go and actually do, for example, you can make, alrighty then. You can make the port larger. So if you want, say, 40 inches of port area or more, you can do that too. And you see that this will just calculate that as well. So there's ways to use the software to do what it is that you want to do. You just kind of have to look at it maybe from a different perspective, but it will still work. Like in this case, you would just do like 4 subwoofers on the top, and then this would be the back of the hatch of the truck, and then the back seats would be up against here, and this would be like one of those big SPL enclosures that go like in the back of a truck. And also what you can do too is you can take this port, and because you know the dimensions on the port down here, you know that it's 40 inches, you can make a square 40 inches and you'll have a very similar scenario. You're just gonna fold it up into a square instead of going all along the bottom, because the port displacement, you can do the math for that, will probably be the same as long as you're keeping 3 sides. So just some useful stuff. We're gonna go to back to my original design here, and we're going to make the height on this 11. And then we're going to put the port on the front. My width, in my case, is going to be 36. And the port is going to be on the front. Now, if you do this way and you put the port on the front, you can also, in a trunk build, not necessarily in a hatch build, but in a trunk build, you can use this port out the same side as the subwoofers to catch the quarter wave in a trunk. And it might help just a little bit for the SPL. Rockford Fosgate actually come up with a whole algorithm many years ago that explains why putting your port on the face of the woofer is best in most applications. And keyword is most applications. Ideally, you want to load that port up, but depending on how big it is and how much air you're moving and putting it in the trunk, you can easily load that port into the trunk just like any other. So on my subwoofer, this it's recommending
No, you doing 2 or 3?
I'm doing 3 in this case.
Okay.
So an SPL
right?
is a 3/4 cube at 39 hertz. So what we need to do on here is pull up my little calculator. We'll do 0.75 and times that by 3. Alrighty. And then what I want to do is I want to take this subwoofer specifications. Maybe it's in box specs. I don't know. You gotta see. Right here it says mounting depth is 6.61 inches. So in the software, in the Subbox Pro, under the subwoofer tab, I want to make sure that that's at least 6.61 inches. And you can edit that in there, because what it's going to do is actually going to draw the subwoofer to the correct length, so you can see and find out if it's going to interfere with your port walls and stuff. So that's really helpful. Then for the displacement of the woofer is 0.1, so 3 of them is going to be 0.3, so I'm going to add 0.3. So my overall side needs to be 2.25, so roughly 2.5 cubic feet for 3 of these MISO 8 woofers. That seems like a lot. Doesn't that seem like a lot? 3.5 or 2.5 cubic feet for 3 8-inch woofers. But that's what it says right there. I don't know how to. I don't know how to let people join my room. How do I do that? Anybody should be able to join. They should be able to just hop in. I don't know.
It actually shows on here. Let me go over here. You guys still see that? Let's see here. Come on, phone, cooperate, you son of a bitch. Okay. if you go right over here, right here, rooms, sub box design live happening. Join.
Yes, but people are. It keeps calling my phone instead of entering this chat right here. I don't know why it does that.
I don't know, unless the direct messenger link would click straight into it.
Well, the link that I sent should click right into it. If you get out of here and if you go to that link right there, it should pull it right up.
I think it might be something else messing up, because when I first tried joining the link, it was trying to call you, and I exited out, and then I ended up clicking on it again, and it let me join in.
Alright, it's got a stutter in it then, someone.
Yeah, it's just typical Facebook and their nonsense.
Gotta love Facebooker.
Alright, so 2.25 cubic feet at 39 hertz. That is what we're going to have to build this box to. So if you guys can see, can any of you guys actually see the screen going on, my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do, now mind you, we haven't even gotten to WinISD yet. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but I want to go over the Subbox Pro software because that's what most people are going to use. If you already have specs, like for example the MISO 8, or most any CT subwoofer on the website, you're going to have specs already here. So I want an SPL curve, and I want these specifications right here. So all I have to do is enter those in here into a configuration, and it will literally build it for me. So on here, we're going to do on the box side, we're going to do internal cubic feet. We're going to put that same thing, 2.55. Now here's what I've done. I built quite a few of enclosures using this Subbox.Pro, and I can tell you from experience that it does not take the displacement of the woofer into consideration. So if you look on here, it says under subwoofer, it'll say woofer displacement. Okay, so I can put 0.1 in there all I want, but all it's going to do is use that to draw the actual woofer. See how it shows how fat it is? It does not take that into the consideration of the box design. So when you come over here to where it says box and it says net volume, I can tell you for a fact you have displacement. So like I did over here, you see how it took my 0.75, which is what we'll do the same thing again. So we go 0.75, that's what this woofer calls for, right? Times 3, because I have 3 woofers. Okay, then it's 0.1 per woofer, so I have to add 0.3 plus 0.3 equals 2.55. So you have to add the displacement of the woofers, otherwise your box will be tuned too high. It will not work. Because you are taking airspace away when you put the woofer in. So you have to include that. So you take the volume the woofer needs to play at that frequency and the displacement of the woofer, add those together and put them right here where it says net internal volume. Notice that it says right here, does not include volume displaced by woofers, drivers, and vents. I can tell you from experience that it does not take the vents or dividers into consideration. You have to add, based on what it just says right here, you have to add the woofer and you have to add dividers. So if you put like dividers or bracing inside of here, like say you had a dowel that you're going to put in there, you would have to add that dowel into the program. You'd have to do the volume of that cylinder, say it's a 2-inch diameter dowel, by the height of the inside of the box. And you would have to add that in here if you're going to put a dowel in this enclosure. So what I find really interesting is that this is a pretty solid box. Look how massive that port is.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I have 30 inches of port area in my current enclosure, and I can tell you that's a lot. But what you can actually do in the WinISD, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Maybe I'm not. Open.
Now let me ask you this while you was talking about port area.
All right.
Do you have, so like for the recommended 30, do you have to have that recommended 30? And what kind of impact or effect does it have if you're not able to gain that recommended 30?
All right, so I'm going to show you that whole thing right there. So I've got in here, I've got a vented enclosure, and there's a lot of different like styles. Great. Okay, so when you pull the okay, so you're talking about the size of the port, right? So up here where it says transfer function magnitude. Okay, so this is where it kind of gets a little different. So what you want to do is if you open up okay, so now we're gonna, once we got a box design, we're gonna try to get, you know, how the design. This is 40 inches of port area right here, I'm pretty sure, and it's out the front, and my port does not interfere with anything, and I want 40 for 3/8. Oh, I'm sorry, this is 39 hertz. So that's going to look something like that, actually. So pretty cool. So I can actually build this right here and stuff it in my car, and it'll fit. The thing about it is, when you go up here to plan, it'll give you your cut sheet. This is what you actually cut it out to. The thing about it is, I need to make sure in this case that all three of the subwoofers will actually fit on the face, and you can see here that they do indeed fit on the face. So if I were to build this enclosure just like this, it would probably sound perfectly fine. If based on the specs on the website, you're at 39 hertz, you've got 40 inches of port area for 3 woofers. That's plenty. I have 30 for 2. I think they require 12 for each of them. So that would be technically 36. So I've got 40. What it does is the port, if the port is too small in diameter, you'll get a lot of air noise, and also there's a Q factor as well too. And the Q factor is what produces ripple, dB ripple. And I'm pretty sure this has a ripple curve. But we're gonna come up here, and so we're gonna start from scratch, where it says, if you open where it says, if you can see my screen, there's a little white sheet on the very top, right next to the file. You click on that, and that's going to start a project. So what you gotta do is you pick from this brand. There's a ton of woofers in here as well, and you can go on the internet and download packages where they have, you know, an updated list, and you can import it using the load. But you can click on Add New, and this is where the website is going to be important. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to the website, and you're going to go to specs of the woofer. All right, so these specs right here, the TS parameters, you're going to enter those in to this WinISD right here. So you're going to come up here and you're going to measure CT sounds. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Well, how'd you get that pulled up?
All right, I'll start all over, okay? So you go WinISD. This is on the WinISD software, okay?
Yeah.
So you go to the top to the little white sheet. Okay, that's going to be start a new project, all right?
Oh, okay.
Then over here, this is where you actually pick the woofer that you want to use. All right, now mind you, this may be outdated because this stuff's from like 2004 or something like that. But what you can do is, if it's not on here, if it's an older woofer, it may be on here. But if it's not on here, like the CT sounds, I had to go in and manually edit the one that I have. So what you do is you click the Add New button at the bottom, and that's going to pull up this little box right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to add your manufacturer right here.
Okay.
And then this is the MISO 8. Then this is data provided by, and I'm just going to put me, because I did it. Now mind you, you can mess this up pretty bad, so you don't want to do that. So in the parameters tab, this is the most important thing in the entire bit. All these parameters right here on the website. Okay, you need all of these parameters. And you have to dump these parameters into this little box precisely. They have to be exactly as they are written on your manufacturer website. They have to be. Otherwise, you can get some weird readings. So what you want to do is you got your QES, VAS. Now I'll teach you a trick. Okay, so see where it says VAS is in liters? Okay, so that's in liters. If you look on here, now it took me for like a long time before I figured this out. Once I figured this out, it was super easy. So if you can look at my screen, you see where it says driver editor. If you look next to where you enter in the information, okay, right next to that box, there's a little symbol. Okay, that's going to be millimeters, inches. If you click on that symbol, it will change from metric to standard. So in this case, it has 3.96 liters. So I go here until it says liters. You come over here to where it says SD. So SD on this case is 189 centimeters squared. You come over here, see it says centimeters squared. If it says inches or square inches, you just simply change that to where it says square millimeters, square inches, etc. All right. Also for your Xmax right here. So this is Xmax. It has millimeters. Now some of these, like the VD parameter, and you don't need all these because once you put in a bunch of these, it'll start figuring out the rest. There's relationships within the math that will dictate one base from another. So you have to enter all these specs into this box. Now I've already done that in that case. So if I come down here to if I open my driver, once you get done and you open up the new one and you pick your driver, in this case I have the MISO 8 right here. And you open up this driver, and if I pick under my box specs, if I do 0.75 at 39, I hit enter. This is the curve that I will achieve. This is an SPL curve for this woofer according to the manufacturer website. So according to this website here, there's a couple features. What was that noise?
I don't know.
It's all like somebody's phone's ringing.
Hey, Dylan, you want Oreo? Oreo?
Continue. Someone's in their car.
Yeah, somebody's driving away.
Yeah.
Well, I get it because people are going to want to, at least listen to this stuff.
Well, for some reason, my sorry guys, I think that was me. I apologize. Oh, that's all right. My WinSD is not working.
What is it doing?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Yeah, it's just sitting here.
Okay, so what are you trying to do with it? What does it got pulled on up right now?
It's just the blank. Just the sheet where you first bring it up.
Okay, so you don't have anything drawn on the graph?
It's like yours, except it doesn't have the line on it.
It doesn't have the green line. Okay, that's
No,
because
it doesn't have anything on it.
it doesn't have the grids or anything?
It's got the grids, but it doesn't have any green line.
So it doesn't have the green line.
Yeah, I'm probably way behind on.
Okay, so did you enter your subwoofer specs in the add a new subwoofer button box?
Yeah, I saved it too.
Okay, you saved it, right? Okay, so what you got to do is go to where it says new, and then find where you saved it to. So whatever brand, whatever you typed in for brand, you have to scroll in this little thing here until you find that brand. It'll be in there because you basically added it to this list right here.
It's not crap.
So whatever you put in for the name or for the manufacturer.
Yeah, but maybe it's my laptop.
Nah, I don't think so. If you saved it, it'll be in this list right here. If you go to the new, it should be in this list. The brand should be in here. So you find your brand. For my case, it's a CT, which is here, and then if I open that, there's the subwoofers that I've modeled in here before, which is most all of them. Then you'll see that your woofer will be in here underneath of that brand. It's going to start with the brand.
I hate computers sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Do you find your subwoofer that you made?
No, that was someone else's.
No. But it's Friday night.
I might have to start over. God dang it.
Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but is there a way for me to expand Trevor's window only so I'm not viewing everybody's window?
You should be able to just tap on it.
Yeah,
Click on it, it'll give you a little expansion type deal.
You should just have to touch my screen, and that's it. And it should pop it up. Should blow it up.
Everybody else in the chat room is down at the bottom, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll
Okay,
pull.
it might be different because I'm viewing on my phone.
Yeah,
That
I
works
don't
on the
know.
phone too.
Yeah, you should be able to just click on mine or push on mine, and it'll put it on the top as a big one, and then everybody else will go down to the bottom, or to the side.
So you can't get rid of the pictures then?
No, it won't make everybody's go away. It'll just make mine bigger.
No,
Okay, I got you.
no. For some reason, when I tap on anyone's window, it just kind of zooms out of the screen and makes the entire screen smaller. It doesn't give any options to expand any of the windows.
I'll be honest with you. It's
Sorry,
probably
this is my first time on one of these things.
Bro, listen, this is like my first time
Sorry,
doing
go
this
ahead.
too. So
Yeah, if you tap on Trevor's, there'll be
Arrows.
2 arrows, yeah. Going,
oh yeah, it did have the
diagonal.
2 arrows, didn't it?
Yeah, you go diagonal with that. It'll bring up his, and then our windows will be down at the bottom right.
Yeah, so on mine you can see it right here. Every time I hover over somebody, it has little arrows where I can put them as the main, and where I can see the whole thing here. And then of course I can do, if I click on that again, it goes back to all of them.
Oh, okay. So I just have the main window where it shows everyone, and when I tap it, it kind of zooms out, and it gives me a drop-down box on top that basically just gives me options for my phone. And then
What kind of phone do you have?
it's Galaxy S21.
Oh really? See, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not doing it on my phone.
Put your finger on his screen and hold it there for a second and take it off and see if it gives you the arrows.
No, that doesn't do anything.
Huh. I don't know, man.
I'll work through it the way it is right now. That way I don't hold you guys up.
You got a laptop or something you can use to join in?
No, actually, I'm on my phone at work, so don't tell nobody. Don't tell my boss.
Hey, I ain't telling nobody nothing, man. We're trying to build Subwoofer
I
boxes here.
suggest you just come here design him a box.
Yeah. Hey,
Yes, sir.
hey, boss, you want a box? Okay, so I'm gonna go through this whole process again, okay? For those who didn't see it. So we open up the
yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
This is so dumb. I really don't get this at all. Okay, so I open up my WinISD.
No, I just hit my phone. So on the brand, you put CT sound, right? And then on the model, you use the mezzo.
Yeah, well, that's the woofer that I'm actually designing a box for, because I'm actually designing a box for this because, like I said, I just got the new 2300, right? And I'm going to. So I just got the new 2300, and I'm going to run 3 of them. So I have 2 already, so I'm going to take it out, rebuild the box, and I'm going to do 3 of them. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to add another baffle to the front of this box.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm starting a new the Win yeah, that thing. It says brand. You put CT sounds.
That's what I put. Yes.
And then the model is mezzo, right?
Yeah, the Miso 8 is what I put on there.
Okay.
Now that's what I'm doing. If you have a different woofer that you would like to model up, you should do that because it'll be different, obviously.
I don't have the specs on that.
Oh, that's right. It's that weird woofer. Oh man.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing is, how are you supposed to build something for a woofer that nobody has specs on?
Right.
There is a way around it.
You could just find one that's similar in size and RMS and do it that way.
Go to the Facebook page and go to the most recent link that I put on there and push that again, and it'll join you into the chat instead of just me. It'll join you into the room. We'll do where it says join room. All right?
Are you talking to someone else?
Yeah, I'm trying to help.
Okay, sorry.
So I'm over here messing around while y'all are on the chat, and I dropped my piece that I need.
Shame on you.
That's what I get for playing, dude. I was trying to put my resistor bank back together while I had a few seconds. And I dropped it.
Didn't break it, did it? Whoa. Whose was that?
Yeah, that was loud, dude.
That sounded like an Amber Alert thing. Whoa.
I found it.
Ah.
So when I did my resistor bank, when I tested those amps earlier, I had to pull it all apart to drop it to 4 ohms. And I got to pull on my little, what do you call it? little jumpers out.
Right.
Trying to put all my jumpers back.
So you did 4, 2, and 1 ohm on that amp?
Yes, 4, 2, and 1 ohm on the 3000 and the 2300.1.
You just did the video for the 1 ohm, right?
That's all. That's all I put on Facebook. I have a YouTube video that I'm making, and I have all the rest. I have all the rest of the stuff. While I was doing a testing, I took a short little video and put it on my group so guys in the group can see. It's kind of like a sneak peek, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Did the numbers surprise you?
Yeah. Because I'm over here thinking, okay, like everything else, you'll do like 32, 3400. I did not expect.
I was thinking about 34.
That's what I was. I did not expect 4,000 watts, and I tested it
4,070, yeah.
I tested it 6 times.
470.
Look, I tested it 6 times.
Right?
Messing up somewhere, did you?
After I was done testing it was legit warm. Because, you're talking about a 1 ohm on a resistor bank. It stresses the crap out of it.
Fucking solid strength.
Yeah, solid strength. So I tested it 6 times, and this thing was warming up. It wasn't hot. But you got to realize, when I pulled it out of the box, it was ice cold. It's probably like 60 degrees here in my garage. That's how cold it was. And it was legit warm after that. I had stressed the crap out of it. And you really got to be careful when you're doing that,
Yeah, because you did it 6 times. Yeah, that's... Yeah, that's really strong.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I did it 6 times certified. Then of course I did 3 uncertified. So I always do 3 to account for just to make sure. So if I do 3 runs in a row and they're identical, because I don't have a quote amp dyno, I just have the SMD products, which is the same stuff that's inside the amp dyno. So if I do the test 3 times in a row, it's not lying. It's not a hiccup. That's the numbers. So I've done it 6 times in a row, and I'm like, there's no way. I'm sitting here freaking out. There's no way that thing makes 4,000 watts.
Dude. Like I said, I'm not surprised.
Dude, I can't believe it. So if in my video, I'll actually I'm going to actually edit it quite a bit better this time. And I'm going to do this many watts at this many volts. Because I don't know if you guys seen, but I did...
I hung out with you a little bit.
Yeah, you did 2 in the video.
I did what?
You did 2 of them in the video.
Oh, just 2 back to back, just to kind of show you that that's what it is.
Go, what the heck? That can't be right. And then you did the second one right after that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. When I'm looking at the pictures of how the board's built and configured and everything, I'm not surprised it does 4K.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, so I got the lithium bank, right? So I bought this lithium bank, and I got the chargers, the power supplies, and all this stuff, right? And I got all this stuff just so I can do these tests, because I knew from experience that the setup I had previously, the CT2000 was pretty much maxing out my voltage. I was dropping too low, so I got the lithium. So one lithium bank allowed me to run up to 5,000 watts on my Team 4K, which I couldn't even believe that the Team 4K did 5,000 watts.
Yeah,
they're
monsters, bro.
They are monsters. So the AT. Monsters. Well, here's the thing, though. Why does the AT3K do 5,000, but the AT2.3 does 2,500, 2,700? I have to. It's 25 or 2,700 watts. It's not like 30% more power. It's like 15% more power, which is what I would expect.
There's something about a hellaciously gnarly built 3K board, bro.
Bro, I'm telling you.
There's just something about
There's something.
It's almost like the 3K is like a magic window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a magic number. Like there's just so much that goes.
It's a magic number. And I mean, I'd be so tickled if I could afford to grab up 2 more just like mine, and then run 1 per sub.
Where's my stuff at?
That's too damn much money, though.
Bro, I'm telling you, for sure it can be. Yeah, it can definitely get costly. Oh, I see what it is on here. That's what I need to do. Let me go ahead and copy that, paste it right there. Okay, I know why people are calling in the way they are.
Oh yeah?
Because if you follow the link that I posted,
let me go look at it.
Ooh, someone got some good stuff in. All right, so if you go to my post. Oh, man. Facebook is so dumb. I need the All Things Car Audio link on my main page so I don't have to go hunting for it every time. I have to go hunting for it every single time.
Man, I just pinned it to the top of my groups.
Now, how do I do that?
It gives you the option. It gives you a little safety pin, man, a little thumbtack. You just click the little thumbtack and it pins it to the top. It's in your options.
Okay. So what I need to do is go to the there we go. Pin that at the top. So the link, the messenger link that people follow that is on the top, that did not work. It did work. Hey.
Pin as an announcement.
Yeah, so you guys there? Did I ruin it? No! No! That's not what I wanted.
There he is.
Dude, that was a terrible idea. I don't recommend going on your phone when you're on the computer because it took me off and put me on the phone.
Yeah.
So what is it? I don't have FL.
Facebook gives you all kinds of bitchy problems when you try being on 2 devices at the same time.
Well, let me go ahead and share my screen again.
I can't make you big now. Oh, there it is.
There you go.
All right. So we're back at it. Waiting on accept. Dude, I don't think it should accept. I think if you're in the group. Oh, he said okay. All right. Hold on.
So do you have permissions turned on?
No. There's guys on the YouTubes that are trying to join the group so they can join the chat.
Oh.
So they okay. All right. Because what I did is I posted the link onto the YouTube where the guys can join from that. So we should be able to have a couple guys come in from the YouTubes as well.
Hey, that's very excited.
No.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm in, he says. All right, cool. That's wonderful.
Welcome.
Did he join in?
I don't know, man. I got a laundry list of people in here.
I don't know. Okay, so if you're in here and if you're just following along, just let me know where you're at so we can get into it. So you guys see how easy it was for me to do the box in the Subbox Pro, right?
Yeah.
It's like super easy to actually design your box that you can actually build. If I were to build this box right here, it would sound exactly like when I opened it in the WinIC. So did you enter all your parameters in there where you got it to pull up right? Yes.
Yeah, I've actually got like 5 or 6 boxes designed in there. Every once in a while it gives me a hiccup and I can close it and reboot.
No, the other guy.
The other guy.
Not me, right?
Honestly, I don't remember. I'm not looking at my I'm not looking at my thing, dude. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, bro. You're good. I laugh because it reminds me of me because I can't keep track of shit half the time.
Well, because I'm trying to show just the part of my screen there.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, mine on the Subbox Pro, my subs are outside of the box. So I probably need to change.
Yeah, so you have to change some of your dimensions. Remember, like I said, so the first thing I do is I change material thickness, and then I change the height of the box to whatever that is. Then I change the woofer and how many woofers, because remember how I started? They were all jumbled and it didn't really look right. So all you have to do is keep changing that stuff until it looks like something like I have right here. Now this box right here will fit exactly into my trunk space, and it will work exactly how it's supposed to. And I wonder though, because these things can handle 0.5, I wonder if I squeezed some of the volume down and I changed the curve, what that would look like. So I can model that over here. So I have this at 0.75 at 39. Okay, so this is the curve that this sub produces at 0.75. That's 3/4 cubes at 39 hertz. So it's got a peak at about 39.5 hertz, and then the F3, which is the 3 dB line, which is right here. The F3 is at 32 hertz. Now I can tell you that it actually plays a little bit lower, down into say somewhere close to 28 hertz before it drops flat off like a rock. But if you model the more SQ based on the CT Sounds website, it says half at 34 hertz. So let's see what that actually looks like. So this is the more SQ with just a little bump on the end. So it's not going to be near as loud, but if you realize it's going to play a little bit lower, in this case down to 29 hertz. So this is 34 hertz tune at 1/2 cubic foot. So that's why Miso 8 is great, because they play very low. You're talking down into the 20s on an 8-inch woofer. That's like unheard of. That's why I run these woofers, because they're so small and they play very low. And I can tell you, they do a really good job. So I might look at doing this because I have 3 of them. I make up for some of that extra SPL, so I can get a little bit lower, a little bit deeper at the cost of some of that SPL. But I'm adding another woofer. So if I want to do that, if I come over here and I change this to 34 hertz on my port, you'll notice that it makes the port much longer. But what I need to do now is drop the volume in accordance, because if you come in here to WinISD and you kept this at 0.75 at 34 hertz, it's going to do something different. It's going to do something like that, which is going to give you, it's going to give you just a little bit of a peak at a little bit more of the lower side. So it looks like you can actually kind of model, if you kind of just drop this frequency right here on the Miso 8, So you can see where it starts dipping below the line right here. If you guys are watching, you see where this 0 dB line is right here?
Yeah.
So at the 0 dB, so you're looking at the 0 dB line and you're looking at the 3 dB line. These two lines right here, this way, and up here, the 2 dotted lines. So the 0 dB line is, you want pretty much everything above that line. So you see where this dips down like that? That's not necessarily a good thing. That's narrowing your band, and it's limiting your output right here. So that's why, you know, you can't go too low. So if you go 30 is too low at this volume, at this enclosure volume. So if you go up, say 34, you see that, look, that brings it right back above that line right there. So theoretically, you can, with a higher box volume, you can tune it a bit lower. In this case, 34 hertz at 0.75. This is what you would end up with on this curve right here. But what you were saying earlier is, how do you know if the port is too big or too small? If you come up to the top here where it says transfer function magnitude, all right, then you can do, there's all kind of stuff you can do right here. And I think what you're looking for is rear port velocity, rear port air velocity. So you see this right here? See how low that is? But that is given a vent that is 4 inches in diameter. That doesn't seem right. So if you do a square, and this is a 4x4, which would be 16, if we make that too small, say 1, you see it starts going up. You know, when it hits a certain point, you don't want that. And I don't know what that point is. I wish I knew what point. It's so many feet per second. See, if you look on this graph here, I'm pretty sure this graph is meters per second. Yeah, so this graph is meters per second. There's also a way to change the graph parameters. I think it's here. Plot window, it says this is the range. Okay, so air velocity, we're talking meters per second. We can change that to feet per second. There we go. There we go. There we go. So you're looking at feet per second now. So how many, can somebody Google real quick, how many feet per second coming out of the air, out of the port is too much?
I can't. I've got to plug my laptop in before it dies.
There's a magic number. Don't go above this many. So 17, generally accepted rule of thumb for turbulence and port compression is 5% of the speed of sound, which is 17 meters per second or 55 feet per second. Okay, so 55 feet per second is what you want to stay. Did I just close that out? What? Oh gosh, I love my life. It's wonderful.
Yeah, see, I still can't get the whatever program it is. The
WinISD?
Yeah.
Okay, so show me, share me your screen so I can see what you have here.
Let's see.
You should be able to go on the bottom. It'll have a little share your screen thingy on it.
Hey, Trevor.
Huh?
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah, what you got?
Without interrupting him. So, is there any softwares out there that you can use that's for weirdly shaped boxes like mine, like me and you had discussed? And I've discussed with Charles also.
Well, the problem that you're going to run into is the WinISD will calculate the port length for you. But because it's a weird shape, you're going to have to actually add those volumes together. And actually, for your situation, you may end up using the 12volt.com where they have a port length calculator. And if you add up all your different chambers in different like sections, so if you got your left, the center, and the right, because you got that hump in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So if you add the left section and you calculate the volume on it, internal volume, and then you do the center section, and then you do the right section. You add all those together. That will give you a port length. Then you can go onto the 12volt.com, and you can actually model that in and get the port length that's required for the frequency that is required as well. Now for you, are you porting to the side? Is that right? You're going to come out the sides with the port?
No, well, I wasn't going to do side port because of my seats. I was either going to do forward port or rear port. But if I do rear port, then I'd have to do a slotted port, which is fine. But if I do forward port, then I can do arrow or slotted. But the issue that I'm running into is that the math for it ain't making any sense, because like the 12 volt is telling me that I should go with dual 3-inch diameter, 3.5 inches long, and that it said it was going to get it down to like 31 point something hertz.
See, that don't make sense because you have 2 Strato 10s, right? You're going to need a bigger port. You're going to need like...
And so I was like, so I threw away the arrow port idea and was like, you know what, I'll do a rear port. And
you can do a slot port to the front would probably be a little more ideal.
It would be more useful for you.
But my biggest concern is because, well, you know, every time I see slot ports, they're dimensional. So, you know, they're basically like an actual solid box. The issue that I've got that I'm running into is because of my box having a flat bottom platform and then a 15-degree top, like a wedge type box.
Why? So well, you don't use the top of the box. You'll use the bottom, and then you'll add 2 sides, and you'll add an imaginary top that will be the top of the port.
Okay.
And you won't use the top of the enclosure. You'll have to actually make, for example, if you have like a rectangle. Are you watching my screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have the top of your box, oh my gosh, absolutely terrible. All right, let's do a line thing. How do you do a line thing? Bro, why do they gotta go changing stuff, man? You have something that works.
And then they change it and move everything around.
Then they change it.
You click on a wireframe.
I got it. Okay, so you got your box is gonna look a little weird, right?
Yeah, very weird.
Your box is gonna be something like. Now this is just kind of weird, messed up shape. What in the world? How do I do this? This is so funky. Okay, so you're gonna have now. This is like the front of the enclosure, right? Because you're gonna have the back is obviously gonna be a little different, right?
Yeah, the back where it's like a wedge type deal. The back's only 3 inches tall. Is all the height I was able to get out of it.
So the back of your enclosure is gonna look something like. No wait. Something like that, right?
Yes.
All right, so let me show you something right here. So we're gonna because I'm not the best at where's the eraser button, dude? Why this new Paint 3D is quite a learning curve. I gotta figure this out. There used to just be like an eraser and like a draw a line, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we get rid of this stuff. Okay, so that's kind of what your box looks like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's from a side view, and that's from the top right there, right?
Yeah.
Well, now what in the world? No, dude. What is your malfunction, dude? Okay, that's the side, and this is the front. What?
Hello.
Okay.
Bro.
Yo.
So if I do a forward, I can get more height out of it. But
Okay, so I'm gonna
what
show.
I do,
I'm gonna show you right here. Okay, so what you're gonna do? Well, what I would do if I was designing yours, I would make the port like this. What now? What makes them think that? Okay, I'm gonna do a line. Now I'm not gonna do another line. Okay, so
Well,
see how?
you know, you gotta be careful, man. People develop problems that way.
So you're gonna do. I mean, I would do a port something like this right here. Bam. Okay. So this is your port right here and right here. So see how there's another piece of wood that goes underneath the slant on the top and it doesn't actually touch the top? That would be the top of your port. So you're not going to come all the way up. You're not going to use the top. You're just going to do an imaginary window, something like this right here. And your woofers, I imagine they're going in this little chamber over here on the side.
yep.
Because that's basically what you're building right there. Only it'll look a lot nicer and it won't be so messed up shaped. So what you have to do is come up with the volume, because I know how to do this stuff because I'm a cool guy. You'll have your red chamber, and you'll have your yellow chamber, and then you have your port will be your green chamber, yellow chamber. Okay, so your red chambers are going to be the same, right?
Yes.
Okay, so with your red chambers being the same, what you're going to have to do is actually get the dimensions of the inside of here. So all the red stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to calculate that weird shape in volume. Then you're gonna add that by 2 because you have 2 of them. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna get the center one and you're gonna come up with the volume this one. So that give you 3 chambers with your volume. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna minus the port or the subwoofers from that volume. So they're probably like 0.15. Maybe, does that sound right?
The subs are 0.14.
Okay, so yeah, so 0.14, 0.15, you're going to subtract that times 2 from that total volume you have. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to use like the 12 volt. Okay, so you can see this, right? We're going to go to on here. So if you just Google slot port calculator, all right, it's going to come up with the 12volt.com right there. All right, so this is for many years. I used the 12volt.com, and only it actually shows you how it's going to be. You really need the WinISD and the 12volt.com if you want to build enclosures. Because the way I did it back in the day was because the WinISD will tell you what it's going to sound like right here. So that's what it's going to sound like. It's going to play that low, it's going to be that high, etc. Then, based on your TS, then you come over here, and if you see right here, see this section right here on the 12 volt?
Yeah.
This is volume calculator for a wedge. So if you use this for all 3 sections, you got a height this way. Now, mind you, this is going to be internal height, not external. Oh, actually it says thickness. Is that the thickness of the wood?
Yes.
Ooh, cool. Even better. So that's going to take your thickness of wood. So you're going to use this calculator right here to determine how tall is the... If we go back to my shitty little paint right here, your red section, how tall is your red section?
11 and 3/4, 11.75.
All right, hold on a second. What in the world? All right, so we have. Man, why is everything so screwy? Okay, so your height 11.75. How thick is your material? 7.5?
Yeah.
Okay, so how wide is this red section right here at the bottom? From the edge of the box.
Let me look real quick.
Hey, Trevor, real quick.
Yep.
I did find a 5 on the mass of the cone. Did we put down the grams for all 3?
No. You're only doing one subwoofer, so you only do TS parameters for one woofer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're just going to model one, and it's going to give you airspace for one woofer to use simply times all that stuff by 3. So on here, that's going to give you your tuning frequency and your volume. So your tuning frequency is going to be the same. Your volume is going to be times 3, and your port area is going to be times 3 as well.
Okay.
It's 12.5, Trevor.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm off in the weeds over here playing.
Oh, you're fine.
12.5 is how wide the red section is in your case, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to go 12.5.
Each one of them.
It's going to go up, and it's going to do another length, and then it's going to go 12.5 on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how high is the back at the red section?
Oh, crap.
Because the back is going to be different heights as well, right?
Yeah, the back of the red of each basket is. I actually don't remember on that.
Okay, well, how tall is the back on the white section, and how tall is the hump right there? So, because what you're going to end up having to do, have you started cutting wood yet?
The box is already built. I just haven't built the port for it, so I haven't put the top on it yet.
Bro, you're going like so bass backwards on building that, dude. You know you build the box around the port, right?
One.
Huh?
It's my first one. I had no idea on how to do any of it, and I was trying to learn as I went, and ended up going completely backwards.
You had the front panel built, the back panel built. Okay, so you got the. Let me pull this up just a little better. So you have this front section built. You have the rear section built. You have the bottom floor of all 3 of these built. You have these 2 little walls right here built, and you have the sides built, and you have the piece on top, right?
The piece isn't on top yet, no.
Okay, so you don't have the piece on top yet.
No.
Send me a picture on PM of what you actually have built already. I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Because you're the one that I was talking about using the silicone on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fine. Because you can work with what you have, right? It's literally just wood. You can glue more to it. But what I'm suggesting is that we determine the size of this rectangle shape right here, whatever that needs to be, and we simply cut that out and build a piece around it and make it look like I have on the diagram right here. You also may need a brace. What you can do is put a little brace between the top and the top of the box and the top of the port. Add a little brace to it to kind of eliminate some of those reverberations, because it being a large panel like that without bracing, it will reverberate.
I've got bracing. I've already added bracing, but I left sections open for options of different ports, whichever way I needed to go.
All right, you need to send me a picture of what you already have so we can determine that. Because using this 12volt.com, you can literally come up with every little piece of information you need. You just got to put it together in such a way. Other dude, when you're doing your MISO 8, did you get that to pull up on your WinISD?
Me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I still have the. Oh, am I supposed to do everything on the driver?
Okay, so on the driver where it shows like the diameter and all that stuff,
Yeah.
You can get some of that stuff off the website, but what that is going to do, where it says driver, that's going to give you your displacement. So here's a little trick for anybody that's watching. If you want to find the displacement of a woofer and you don't know what it is, use that little thing right there and measure the woofer and plug in those things, and it will give you, all it's going to do is spit out, this is how the displacement of the woofer. We already know the displacement of the woofer, so that is it's on the website. And at 0.1, it's 0.1, right?
I believe so.
So that woofer is already 0.1. But if you, all that's going to do is, if you have the woofer sitting in front of you, you can physically measure it with the measure tape, and type in all those things, and it will tell you, okay, this is the displacement of your woofer. So if you just come up with, I don't know this woofer from Adam, and it doesn't have that spec, you can plug it all in there, and it will tell you what that displacement of the woofer is. Very useful tool.
Voice coil, temperature rise, and
It says what?
voice coil, temperature rise.
Temperature rise.
Yeah,
Where's that at?
at the bottom left of
Then
the
advanced parameters.
Advanced parameters.
Oh, is that where I'm at?
I don't know.
I think so, yeah. I think you're in advanced parameters. Let me pull mine back up.
Well, mine's the same. Down there is traffic. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I'm not on the box.
Yeah, you're on WinISD.
Was that? Are you looking at WinISD?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on WinISD.
Yeah. Well, that's where he was at. So what are you talking about? Temperature rise.
It's right under advanced options.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
it's in
but I'm
there.
not seeing that though.
Do you see the subwoofer? Well,
Where it says driver, and then your brand and your model. Then it'll have placement and advanced options. It's underneath advanced options.
how'd you get yours all the way up there?
Dude,
Hold on.
Mine's just small down in the left-hand corner.
what are you talking about?
Do. I can turn my camera back on. Right?
Bro, I didn't save my freaking link for my box. All right, hold on.
Okay.
found mine.
Get this done here.
So I'm gonna give you guys a hint, right? So
Okay. Right here.
Yeah, see, mine's real small for some reason down in the left-hand corner.
That's probably just how this is all stretched out and whatnot.
yeah, nothing's been playing nicely.
Look
in
more
the-
like that. Does yours look more like that now?
Are you scrolling yours right now?
No. I expanded my screen. Because now it's down here in the bottom left corner.
Well, I can't bring yours up.
Bro, what kind of fucked up chart you got going on right there? Is that a fourth?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
What the fuck?
see, I can't. Where you have yours.
Okay, can
Okay,
you?
so yours is just like mine. It stops at the parallel, the coil connection.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I just had my screen.
Oh, you're talking about down
From
there,
now.
dude. On the driver's
Yeah.
side. Okay, dude. All right, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to mess with that stuff, dude. You just mix with where it says box and vent. That's it.
Whoops.
Just do one driver and times it by 3. That's the easiest way to go about it. Yeah, that's a lot of
So what
stuff I wouldn't worry
Because
about.
I added the mass of the cone, too. That's what I was talking about earlier.
No. That's added mass to cone. That's when you're adding weight, physically adding weight to the cone for whatever reason.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that goes back to
Yeah,
zero.
Yeah, like I said,
angles and stuff.
You don't want to mess with those, dude, because you'll have. Yeah, okay. So all you're looking for is box. So if you type in 0.75 at 34 or whatever you should get, a shape on the screen.
Let me bring yours back up.
Oh.
What
Yeah,
the hell?
bro. I freaking closed out my... Oh, man. So I have to go back here and edit all this information. Again, 0.661?
So, do I change the hertz back, or did you have yours at 34?
I have mine at 34 right now.
At where I was at the top? Or I should say, where I'm at the driver.
Yeah, so where it says driver and then it says box. Where it says box, that's what we're worried about right here. Is where it says box.
Yeah, but I changed the hertz up there.
Well, that's the cool thing is you can play around with it and see what it's going to look like on the screen. Remember, 0 dB, you want everything at or above 0 dB. But you realize that as you realize when you're playing with this, if the higher you go up on that hump, that camel hump, the narrower the one on the backside, the little tail right here, the little skirt on the backside here on the left, that is going to shoot towards the right. It's going to move towards the right. So if you look on the bottom, is the range right here from -3 to 0. That's the sweet spot. That's why the dotted lines are right there. So anything below -3, you're not going to hear it. So in this case, 34 hertz. You're not going to hear anything theoretically below 34 hertz. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 28 hertz. So when you click on here,
I have a question. I don't have, mine's still got the straight line across. I don't have any green thing in because I didn't do anything on the box.
oh, well, you have to go to the box and you have to type in a volume and a frequency.
Oh, okay. So that's where the parameters come in, right?
No. So if you loaded a subwoofer, does it show up on the left side right here? If you're looking on my screen, does it show you this little blue thing where it says MISO 8 right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you click on that, down here is going to be the parameters for that woofer. So see if I take it away, I add the woofer.
Oh, I bet you I didn't load those.
Load which one?
On the MISO.
Oh yeah, you gotta load it in here, and you got it where it says projects, and you gotta click on it, and it'll pull it up on the graph right here. If your line's just straight, then you come down here and you go to where it says box, and you enter your volume and your tuning frequency.
Okay. Would you type in then?
My volume is 0.75. My tuning frequency is 34 hertz.
Okay. 0.75. Oh, you stupid. Oh, what?
It sounded like a disaster.
Oh. Heck on it.
What'd it do to you?
Close it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I gotta run a couple errands, man. I'll holler at you guys after a bit.
All right, bro.
All right.
All right, man.
Okay, thanks. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry it's taking me so long.
Hey, it's no big deal. So if you see what I got on here in this Subbox Pro, I've come down here and I've typed in those two things. Once I have the dimensions of where I want the woofer box to go, right? I have my height and I have my width. So I have my height right here, and then I have the width right here. It's going to calculate how deep this needs to be. That's what one of the calculations it does, right? So you don't have to worry about doing your 1728 and all that stuff and doing your depth because it's already done it for you. All right, so you can see here I also have 34 inches or 40 inches of port area. That's how big this port is. It's a big, massive port. So these three little woofers in this a little bitty 11-inch space in the back of my hybrid is going to throw some serious air. But you can see right here where it says 20.47, so that's 20 and a half inches is the length on here. And I think mine is right at like 18 inches is the most I can have. So I may have to deal with that. Otherwise, it'll just poke out a little bit. So I can actually do a slant on the back right here. So if you don't know, if you're going to try to slant the back of a box, even if it has a port, it doesn't matter. As long as the center of the port. So if you come up here and you go up halfway and you draw an imaginary line right here, that center of that port needs to be the same width. If you do a triangle and it's fatter at the bottom and skinnier at the top, as long as that port is the same width, the area will be the same and it will sound the same. I've slanted the back of ported boxes hundreds of times and it works just fine.
Okay.
As long as you, so if you, for example, if you take 2 inches off the back on the top, you have to add it on the bottom. It has to be the same. And if you measure this, the center of the port, so if you got the height of the port, at the center of the height, dead center, across should be the same as this right here. So you see how wide that port is in the front?
Okay.
It's the same width all the way through.
Oh, there it is, finally. Oh. Yeah,
So
I closed out my WinS. Yeah, you keep going. That's all right. I'll go back and watch the video.
No, dude, this is gonna be a long video. Look, we're here to chat, man. If you want to figure something out, now's the time to do it. So what I've done on here. I'm sorry.
Oh, I closed out my file or my WinSD.
Yeah, you should be able to just pull it back up.
Oh, it should be under.
See, I closed this out, and I was able to just go in real quick and punch all these parameters back in. What you don't want to be doing is punching your TS parameters in over and over again, because that is super tedious. But once you do that, it should save it into your drivers, and you should be able to pull it up from there. But your most important thing is that your area of the box, your volume, is what it needs to be. In this case, we calculated 2.55, and then of course your 2 dimensions need to be big enough to fit in the car. And then of course on your
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, then your port needs to be big enough to handle the amount of air that is moving. In this case, we have 3 8-inch woofers. That's a ton of cone movement for this little bitty box. So that port needs to be real big if you want it to breathe properly, if you want it to hit the low notes. So according to this, if we build this at 34 hertz, it won't be near as loud as if we go up to what it recommends is 39 hertz. Let's see. You see how much louder that is? Oof.
Oh, I don't even. For some reason, your screen disappeared, and it's got that stupid loading thing.
Dude was saying that his was doing that earlier.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, because you're just got that thing spinning.
Huh.
Oh, sucks. Are you still there?
Yep. Okay. So can you see my screen at all?
No.
Huh. Click on it again and see what it does. Because I have 2 transfer functions pulled up on the screen right here, and I want to show you the big difference between the two and why this stuff matters. And what happens if you change one thing. And for dude that's building a box for the truck, this is what you're going to run into if your tuning frequency and your box volume don't match. You end up with something right here. So can you see my screen?
No.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so can you see these 2 green lines I have on the screen right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see one's a lot taller than the other one. One's closer to 6 dB. The other one is 3.5 dB.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the trade-off. The higher you go on here on the scale above 0, that's how loud it's going to be. right? But the farther you come this way to the left, that's how low it's going to play. So in this case, if I do 39 hertz, I have this peak at 40 hertz, right? Right at 40 hertz, I get this nice peak. So at 40 hertz, it's going to be super loud. But my F3, which is the -3 right here, it's called F3, is at 32 hertz. So theoretically, it'll play down at 32 hertz. Well, if I tune the box lower, here's what I run into on the other one. So on the other one, I tuned it to 34 hertz instead of 39. And if you see, I got a nice peak right here at 34 hertz, right? But you can see down here, my F3 is 28 hertz. So this will play down to 28 hertz, theoretically. It'll play a little bit lower, but that's kind of the notable cutoff point. So you see, I've gained like a few, like 4. What is this one? This one play at? So at 28 versus 32. Okay, so by simply tuning from 39 to 34, I've gained 4 hertz lower, right? So I can play 4 hertz lower in frequency, but look what it did. It chopped my gain. This right here, this peak, it chopped it down quite a bit. So it's not going to be as loud, as it playing the higher frequency. So on their website, when they're talking about SPL, they want a loud enclosure. That's probably what they were going for, was that big peak right there. So theoretically, What
about if you're the kind of person where you listen to a bunch of different type of music, so you like more of an SQ?
All right. So on the page here for the Miso 8, if you go to box specs, they have an SQ enclosure, which is 0.5 at 34 hertz. All right. So if we come over here to the WinISD and we type in 0.5 at 34 hertz, you see how it dropped that way down? Okay, so it's going to be a flatter, so it's not going to have near as much of a hump, but look what it did to our F. Okay, so our F3, we're looking at 29 hertz. So it's going to play in a smaller box, right? We're talking a smaller box here, 0.5 versus 0.75. It's going to play lower, and it's not going to be as loud. It's going to be more musical shape right here with a nice bump between, say, 50, what is that? 55 hertz. Okay, so it's between 55 hertz and 29 hertz is where that's going to play at. That's a very smooth sounding box right there. But you notice it doesn't see this other line, see that peak? So according to the website, these are the two designs they have. They have this peak right here, and they have this smaller wave down here. So an SQ enclosure is going to their website is going to play a little bit lower and have like a smoother roll off, whereas something that is louder is going to have this higher peak, but it's not going to play as low. So what I was kind of modeling was if you keep your peak up here, because your peak is determined by your box volume. So if you ever see guys say, "Oh, you need a big box," big box makes big bass. Well, that's true, but look what it does. Look what it does right here. See, it makes this band. It kind of narrows it. That peak is real sharp versus kind of smoother right here.
No, yeah.
So if you actually take your smaller one, and if you tune it higher, say 0.5, 39 hertz, you see you're back to that peak. Now, why does it have a peak at 39 hertz? Why does the subwoofer seem like it has a real big peak right there at 39 hertz? I'm betting if you go down here to where it says specs and you look at its FS, that's at 46 hertz. So it's going to be a little higher. So what you're going to run into is if you have like an 18-inch woofer where it has like a 20-something FS, it's going to have that peak at that lower frequency over here. I think I actually maybe have a 15 that I can model in to show you that. So here's a Miso 15. Okay, so here's a MISO 15. I don't know what's going on right there. But you can see this is kind of like a flat curve. If we come here and we want to bump that up, you can see here that we can get not near that high. You can get something like that right there. That's at 6 cubic feet at 31 hertz. See that curve right there? So your F3 on a 15-inch woofer is going down to 28 hertz and still playing flat and having a nice peak right here, almost 6 dB. Anything over 6 dB is going to be quite a lot at 34, 35 hertz right here. So your 15-inch woofer is going to play lower and louder. You know, that's the advantage of a 15. But look, you're at 6 cubic feet. That's a huge freaking box. So the reason why I run the MISO 8 is because you can see, based on this graph right here, you can see how close it is to a 15-inch woofer. Now, mind you, the SPL, there's another thing too right here. The sensitivity on a 8-inch woofer is 82, but if you look up the MISO 15, which I don't, let me see, subwoofers, MISO 15, and we go down to what was I looking for? Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so right here it says sensitivity, right? 89.7 versus on the other one, 82. Okay, so mind you, this is at 0 dB. This is a plus 6. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that 82 and you're going to add, 5.5 going here. You're going to add 5 3/4, 5.63. You're going to add 5 to that. So that 82 becomes 87. And this over here, that 89 becomes 90 something, right? That's where your 15 is going to be inherently louder out of the box, even though their function is very similar on the software over here. So see how I can make that function very similar between the MISO 15 and the MISO 8 right here. See, they have a very similar curve. The MISO or the 15 will inherently play a little bit lower, and it will be louder doing so because it's a 15 at the cost of that huge box. It's going to be a huge box. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the fact that I can play low like a 15 in a very small box. It's just not going to be very loud doing it. I can tell you it's loud enough. With two MISO 8s, I'm getting somewhere around like the mid 130s, maybe super low 140s, maybe 140, 141, something like that. It's super, it's not super high, but even a mid 130s and SQ build using some 8-inch woofers in a tiny little box, pretty impressive, I think. So I got this bigger amp now, so I'm going to run 3 woofers in a little bit bigger box, like this one here. So what I've done is I'm going to go with, because if you look at here, see at that 0.5, by dropping from 0.7 to 0.5, I lose a ton of bass, a ton of output at that frequency right there. So what I want to go for is 0.75. If I drop that to 34 hertz, okay, so these are the two functions right here. If I get rid of that one, so this is at 39 hertz. I've got a huge. That's at 34 hertz. See how I get lower? I gain an extra 4 hertz lower at the cost of about 2 dB. So I lose 2 dB to play lower. That's your trade-off, is between your enclosure volume, your tuning frequency, the woofer FS, the roll off of the curve, how low it's going to play, and how loud it will be. All these things are mathematically combined to one another, and that will change. And that's why picking the right woofer for your application is very important. And what I'm telling you is that your woofer has a very low FS, and your box volume needs to be pretty decent size. I think it's like 1.5 cube per.
Well, my box size, what I have right now, if I was to put a top on it, counting everything, what I've got right now, with minusing what the stub displacement is, I'm 2.26.
Okay, doesn't it want... Let me put up this. Because what you're going to have to do is you're going to change your port tuning to reflect your volume of the enclosure. That's why you always start with the port. And
that's what I was doing on that the 12 volt.
Is it Strato 12 or 10?
10.
Okay, so Strato 10. Box specs. You want a punchy style or you want a SPL style?
I'm more of an SQ style myself.
This is a 10-inch woofer? Man, that Strato 10 does not need a very big box. You have how many cubic feet?
No. I've got 2.26.
2.26. That's after you take the subwoofer out of the equation?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a huge box, dude.
Well, see, when I first built it, Dan, you know, I was right at that where it actually said that it was wanting per website, but everybody was like, no, you need to be at like 1.5 per sub. So I ended it up and changed my box in order to gain that.
Well, here's the thing though, I may have the Strato in here. Let's open the Strato woofer, because when people are like, oh, you need a bigger box, because everyone out there is going to tell you need a bigger box. You need a bigger box. Only if you want your peak to be higher, right? What if you don't want your peak to be higher? Strato 10. All right, so here's a Strato 10. This is at 1.2 cubic feet. Am I on the right subwoofer here? At 25 hertz, so that ain't even right. So what does the website call for? The Tacoma 0.9 at 35. Boom. That's your curve. Ooh, that's a nice curve. Oh, look at that. See how broad it is and how...
And see, that's what I'm going for, but I feel like I need to downsize my box in order to be able to get that.
You will. Okay, so what did they say you wanted it to be at? 1.25, something like that? What did the other peoples on the internet tell you that it needs to be at?
That I needed to be 1 to 1.5 per sub.
Okay, so let's say it's 1.25. Let's see what that's going to do to your... okay, so that's what it's going to do. It's going to make that peak a little bit bigger. Let's see if we go 0.9, right there. So you're going to end up with a higher peak at 1.25 right here. So see, that peak is going to be a little bit higher, but look, that's over the 6 dB mark. That produces a lot of ripple. You really don't want that. In fact, I actually have other software that can show the ripple. This one has the ripple here, but it's in here under I don't know if it's here. That you can see the ripple. This other software I have over here will show me the ripple. So if I open Ozone, or what is it? It's a Strato 10, right? Strato 10.
Yeah.
All right, so if I open the Strato 10 in this software over here, you see we have the same sort of curve going on that we have over here in the WinISD. Actually, that's at 0.9, right? What is that at? 0.8? 0.89? 8.9. Enter. Okay, so you see that curve is the same right here. this one here versus this one here, right? So this other software is the same thing, but you see what it got over here on this ripple side? So see where it says dB ripple, it's all the way in the yellow. So that's as big as the box. You know, if you start going up in the box size, you see that ripple starts to increase. So if you go to 1.25, like they're telling you, you know, upwards of 1.5. So this is 1.25. Okay, see that all the way in the red? That's a ton of ripple. You're way too high. You do not want to be that high on the ripple. So the ripple is basically like the fluctuation, like its ability to stop itself, right, as it's playing. So basically, it won't stop and it won't be accurate. It's going to kind of flutter because the box is too big, right? So as it attempts to stop and the amplifier attempts to stop it, there's not enough acoustic suspension behind it to actually get it to slow down. What that means is that the box will be loud, but it won't be punchy, right? And you want that punchy bass. So what you have to do is you have to get... Wow, that's the changeover point. So someone obviously is doing their homework on that kind of stuff. And now, mind you, that's at 35 hertz. You know, you can change all kind of stuff with it too. So I would say 0.9 at 35 is the most you would want to go. And according to the website, that is their high side. They have a high side of 0.9 cubic foot at 35 hertz. Per sub. So I mean, I would go by the website. The website seems pretty accurate. If you take this right here and you type in 0.5 at 35 hertz, you see this nice smooth rolly hump right here. I bet if we put that into software like this right here, we type in 0.5, see that nice rolly curve, and see our ripples down to like almost none. That's going to be a very smooth sounding woofer that's going to play down to, you know, well into the 30s, down into the 20 hertz. Because this point right here, this crossover point is right up between 29 and 30 hertz right here. So the subwoofer is going to play decently low, and it's going to play everything in the middle with this nice loud. Anything above 0 dB is going to be louder. And in this case, we're playing from 200 all the way down to 30 hertz. In the loud territory. So it's going to be a very smooth, very rolly enclosure. And that's what I'm kind of thinking. Why do they tell you it needs to be so big? The older ones may need a bigger enclosure. I have no idea. I seem to have this problem when I actually modeled for the old Strato 10s like Charles has. The specs never seemed right. So I had to actually buy a piece of equipment that allowed me to test the specs. And I built my enclosure based on that. And I don't remember what those specs were. That was on my other computer. I'm sure I could probably pull up my other computer, but it doesn't matter anyways because you don't have those woofers. You have the new style. No. So I would say between 0.5 and 0.9 at 35 hertz. I mean, I would just build to that. So... Because if your box is too big, which it sounds like right now it is. It's getting there, for sure. It's like you need to take some off of it, you know, either from...
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now is how much I need to take off.
Well, so you need to determine your port. Okay, so if you go back to the 12volt.com, how big is your box?
2.26 right now.
Oh, okay. So I'll show you something else too in this TermLab software here that makes it super easy versus the WinIC will tell you as well. But the TermLab is kind of my go-to. It has all the functions you need. It just takes forever to load. Okay, so if we open the Strato 10 and we open what it, okay, so if we're looking at 0.9 at 35, And we go to vent design right here. See where this says your air velocity, right? So we want a port of 14, roughly 15. 14 to 15 is what you're going to want per sub. So 15 per sub. So you're looking at... Hey. I better undo that. Hold on a second, I'm trying to undo this real quick. All right, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so for 2 woofers, you're going to want roughly... Oh, this has a breakdown for multiple vents, too. You're going to want roughly...
A 2 by 10, 15 inches long.
No, 2 by 10 would be 20. You would almost need like a 3 by 10 or... All right, let's do a 5 by 6, maybe a 5 by 5. We'll try 5 by 5. Okay, so if we go in here, we do 5 by 5 by the box volume is, what is it now?
My current box volume is 2.26.
2.26, and your tuning frequency is 35. That gives you a port length of 20 inches long. That's pretty long. That's probably longer than your box, ain't it?
No, I'm 21 and a quarter.
Yeah, that's way too long. So if you did the same thing, you did 4 by 5, that would give you a 15-inch length. But a 4 by 5 is 20 inches of port area, right? So it'll be just a little bit too small. So you almost need to find sort of a happy medium between 4.5, maybe 4. What about 4.5? 4.5 by 4.5. Okay, so you're looking at 16 inches long. And how deep is that top section of that box? If we go back to this, this green...
5.5 inches.
Huh?
5.5 inches.
Now, how deep is it from the front of the box to the back of the box?
Oh, 21 and a quarter.
21 and a quarter inches. Okay, so how tall is the back from the top to the bottom on the back side of the yellow part?
The front of the box is 5 and a quarter. The back of it is 3 inches.
So in the yellow part, it's going to be 3 inches on the back.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to need to make sure that's not going to interfere. It almost seems like going out the front probably is not going to be what you want to do. I mean, you can, you're just going to be limited to, you're going to need a smaller.
Well, let me ask you this instead, because I don't want to keep tying up your time and other people's questions and stuff like that.
Is anybody else in the chat? Who all's in the chat right now?
I came back.
Huh?
I finally got back.
Oh, did you?
I lost. Yeah, I lost you earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Oh no, it was. I don't know what it was.
I figured this chat would be pretty late. I mean, there's a lot of information that goes into designing the enclosure and using the WinISD software. The WinISD software is super complicated, but once you enter your TS parameters, playing with your volume and your tuning frequency until you get the hump that you want, and then of course your rear velocity, you want it to be less than 55, on your port diameter, which has right here.
I still haven't got that up. So I'm on the box. I have 0 for volume.
Yeah, you got to put a volume on there, dude. You can't do 0. You got to have put 0.75 on it.
Hey, Trevor, last question real quick.
All right, what you got?
Would I be better off just taking and filling in some of my box and just going non-ported enclosure for my kind of setup?
I don't think sealed is ever the way to go, but that's just me. You can use like big foam, like big yellow foam. I've done that before. You take a big section of there and you can put it in there, and it'll take up some of that airspace. But if you go by this calculation right here, what you have right now will still technically work. If you got 4.5 by 4.5, with the box size that you have already, you're looking at a 16-inch port down the middle, 4.5 by 4.5. So I mean, you could try to start with something like that and then see what that actually sounds like. But I need some pictures. Did you end up sending me pictures?
Haven't yet.
Okay, so just send me some pictures, and we'll look at your situation a little more closely, because yours is kind of an odd deal with the setup situation that you have. So maybe I can help you crunch some numbers on that and come up with a viable solution, because you're not far off.
Yeah. I think I could do a 16-inch 4.5 by 4.5.
Uh-huh.
It would be tight when it gets down to like the middle section, but I think I could probably squeeze it off.
I see. I mean, that's just according to this math right here. If you want to be around that same tuning frequency.
But am I gonna go over that dB that you was talking about?
The ripple?
Yes, the ripple.
No.
Where I'd be in a danger zone, because I do want to stay in a yellow zone. I don't want to damage,
No. That has nothing to do with damage. Okay. That has little to do with damaging the product and more to do with how it sounds.
It just puts out bad sound quality.
Well, not necessarily. It just, once you get into the red, you're losing your punchiness. The punchiness of the bass, it starts to diminish once you hit that point. It'll still be loud for sure. And if your port's too small, you're going to hear port noise. Building port enclosures for where you're putting them at is one of the hardest things, And one thing they don't talk about is those Gately enclosures. The way their port design is, it's kind of a tapered design. It kind of gets rid of some of that noise.
Well, see, I can run a taper on mine in order to be able to, get away with a smaller port, because I can make use of the walls that I already got and build it like a funnel type deal to funnel it into a port to run a smaller port in order to get rid of port noise.
That's how Gately does it. The problem is I don't know the math on tapered horns.
Well, I wasn't talking about tapered horn. I was just talking about rolling the airflow into a slotted port, for example.
Yeah, well, you're talking about having a louder mouth on the outside and a narrower on the inside. Like a horn-shaped port, just a little bit.
Yeah, it would be bigger on the inside, but for mine, it would be bigger on the inside and then smaller on the outside.
Oh no, you wouldn't want to do that. You'd want it to be bigger on the outside. Because the way it works, when the air goes through an orifice, so you're going from a large chamber through a little hole into another chamber, which is the cabin of the vehicle. It will increase in velocity once it goes through that port, that tube, once it chokes down. So what you do is you kind of, instead of keeping that tube rectangular shape and long, if you kind of taper it out to make it look like a horn, it makes that port noise die off dramatically. The problem is there's a calculation for that, and I don't know what it is.
Right.
Because that affects the length of the port. It won't be the same as if it was just a straight tube. And I don't... There's not a lot of good resources on that. On tapered ports. So you know the little kerfs on a subwoofer box with the port? They have little kerfs on them?
Yes.
So that kerf will do the same thing. It will help to slow down that air and reduce port noise. So on a kerfed enclosure, like Scar Audio does on their enclosures, they have a double kerf. And they get away with that because that kerf allows them, besides looking cool, it allows them to run a smaller port, than otherwise necessary. If they were to try to run a bigger port, your box would have to be bigger. It would change your tuning, or the box would just be too big. So what they do is they use a double kerf, and it gets rid of some of that noise. It just gives you a better experience. It looks cool, and it dies down some of that choofing noise that the port makes. So if you use a router on your port and you kind of router the edges of it, you will also reduce some of that choofing noise on your port.
I think I'll take some measurements and try and go with that 4.5 by 4.5, 16 long.
All right, so if we can actually model that too right here. That would be okay. I think we've already done that over here. Right there. So that's the function that you would have. It would be very loud, anywhere between, it's going to play infinitely upwards, and then downwards it's going to play down to 28 hertz. So it's going to be a low playing enclosure at that box volume with that port. The problem is that port may not be big enough, but your port length really can't be much longer in where it's at.
And see, that's the bad thing for me in my box design, is because I could go all the way up to, I could go up to minus 20. I could go up to probably like probably like an 18 on port length in a safe range. But then the crappy part would be, by going that long, it would have to be 2 inches tall, and that's restricted down too much.
No, that's not true. So if you want to do that, if you do a 2-inch tall port, right? That's the actual inside of the port, not the wood, right? So it'd actually be 2 3/4 inches.
That's the actual inside.
So if we did say a 2x10, you could be in the same boat with a 2x10 versus a 4.5 by 4.5.
Well, see, that would be easier for me to make then. If I can do the 2x10, 18 inches long, I can make that happen easy.
Yeah, that is a little easier, isn't it, to do a 2x10 versus a 4.5 by 4.5? How tall is what is the inside dimension of the back of the box at the narrow part? The inside dimension.
The inside dimension is 3 inches.
So what is the overall dimension on the outside?
Overall dimension would be 4.5.
Okay, so 4.5 on the outside and 3 on the inside, right? So with 3 on the inside, you can be looking at 2 plus the 3/4, so you're looking at 2 3/4. So theoretically you can go up to 2 1/4 on the inside port, right?
Yeah.
So you can go 2 1/4 by 10 gives you. Oh, that's a bigger port. That gives you 17.9 inches. So you just need to make sure that you use this calculator and you punch in your actual box volume after everything, and the tuning frequency, which is 35 hertz, which is recommended for that subwoofer. So 2.5 by 10 would be 18 inches long. No, go inside. So you might stick with the 2x10 and try that out.
Nah.
The cool thing about it is I would definitely get it sounding right before you started putting a bunch of carpet and stuff on it,
Well, I ain't gonna. Well, that's what I was gonna do. Is I wanted to get it sealed up and get it in the truck and play with it before, because I'm actually gonna take and line X mine.
Yeah, for sure, because you can always like change it. So, for example, I did a box recently for two Tropo 8s, and I did it wrong. I had one calculation, my decimal point was off in my calculation, and the box was way too big. I already had it built, and the port was wrong. Everything was wrong. So I punched it in. I went through everything from the basics. I figured out, oh man, this is like, instead of 0.5, it was like 5, or so whatever. Instead of 5.1, it was like 51 point something. I don't know. I had something was wrong on my dimensions, and once I modeled it incorrectly, I was like, dude, I have to take away like 0.4 cubic feet out of this box. I mean, how do you just take away almost a half a cubic foot out of a box you just built? But when it's in the wood state, it's real easy. Everything just cuts apart and glues together. It's just wood, But that's why you test it and make sure it sounds the way you want to before you start carpeting it.
Of course, another thing that's bad on me is I'm going to have to leave mine bare wood for a little while, because I'm still, according to, I can't remember who it was I talked with CT Sounds, but according to him, I didn't know it when I was ordering all of it, because the last system that I had was old school.
Uh-huh.
Things have changed since then a lot. And he actually told me that I have to have one more 1500 to 1 amp, because I'm just not going to drive those subs very well and efficiently on my one 1500 to 1.
Oh, that's all you have is one 1500?
Yeah.
Are they dual 2 ohm or dual 4 ohm woofers?
Dual 2.
Dual 2. Oh man.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna
I'm actually going to buy another 1500 to 1 amp here in the next couple weeks,
and strap them.
and I'm going to strap them and do 3000 to 1 at 2 ohms.
Yes, that's exactly what you would have to do in that situation, because those woofers they're gnarly, man. They're huge. Now, here's the thing, though. If you went to a cheaper woofer, say an Ozone, they probably require because here's the thing, more powerful woofers require lower airspace typically. So if you simply change your woofers out to, like, say, the Ozone, they also play real low, but they may not need as big of a box, or they may need a bigger box. So I'm just looking at the Ozone right now. So the Ozone wants 1.5 cubic foot at 32 hertz.
So I have a box basically built for them.
Yeah, so it says right here 1 to 1.5 cubic foot at 32 hertz, and they play very similar to a Strata. But that's what I'm saying is, more powerful woofers, they don't require as much airspace to get the same function out of them. So that's one of the good things about having very powerful woofers. So you could, in theory, buy 2 of these woofers at $139 a piece, versus buying an amplifier that is, let's see, amplifier.
$199.
Oh, is that all it is? Is
Yeah,
it
that's
a
what I'm just
T1?
going to buy enough.
T1000 or
No,
CT1000?
it's the CT 1500 to 1.
CT 1500. Yeah, okay, that's okay. So $199. Yeah, you
So
can.
that's why I'm just going to buy another one of those and keep my subs. I screwed up when I ordered my subs, because I've got CT Sounds door speakers. That was the first purchase I ever made, was their door speakers.
What would you get?
And mine's the old school, so mine are actually 4 years old, but mine are the 2-way 5 1/4 mesos.
Oh, I don't think they changed the design on those. They should be the same, right?
See, I swear they did, because the cones are completely different in the ones that's in my doors and the ones that I got sitting in my shed for another project for my '89 Suburban.
Did you buy 2 ways again?
Yeah.
Well, okay, but did
Yeah,
you buy the two? Did you buy the PA or did you buy the Because you may have bought. So the one in your doors, do they have a carbon cone, or do they have a like a silver piece in the middle?
No, they're the carbon cones.
And the ones that you bought now, what do they look like?
They're the carbon cones. But the cone color and the design in it, like the little bit of the design and the way it looks, is different than the ones that's in my doors.
That's interesting. I would like to see that because I don't have any of the old version. Okay, so I have 6.5s, right? And I have the old version Miso 2A 6.5, and I have the new Miso 2A 6.5, and they look identical to me. So I don't know.
They might be identical. They might have just done like a color difference in the cones, and that's what I'm noticing.
Well, there's that too, like different materials or whatever, and fading. I don't know. There's all kind of stuff like that could change the color. I have no idea. I'd have to see side by side, but I would be curious because I ordered all these new ones thinking that they were
in my doors. OEM. I made brackets, so there was literally OEM replacements.
You got any pictures of them?
Yeah.
I'd like to see a picture of the old one versus the new one and see how different they are. Because like I said, I just bought a bunch of new ones for my build, and I haven't noticed any different. They look literally identical to me, but then again, I don't know. I don't know what the 5 1/4 is either. I don't have those. I have the 6.5s. Mine, to me, they look identical, but
this is the only picture I actually have. Well, these are the only 2 pictures I have of them because they're in my truck. So I'd have to take my door panel off to get a better picture. But
well, I mean, if you have one from when you built it already, that'd be fine too. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you're going to get another 1500.1. Now, that's 3,000 watts. So you're going to need like a 0 gauge to the back to like a 4 gauge splitter. Or they 0 gauge in, right?
I've got 0 gauge ran all the way to the back already with the distribution block to be able to feed 2 4 gauge wires to both amps.
Okay, so...
Well, one 4 gauge each, but...
Okay, but here's another thing, though. What kind of alternator do you have? Do you have a second battery or anything like that? Because you're going to need it.
My truck's a diesel. I've already got 2 batteries, and I also got a 270 amp alternator.
That's all you need right there.
I've also got a capacitor as well.
You have a capacitor?
Yes, I have a 5.5 farad capacitor.
Oh. Well,
Who's it from?
I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but you probably ought to throw that dude in the garbage.
Yeah. That's why I asked. Who's it from? Because the
capacitor
What is it?
The size of the C battery.
What audio? What brand is it?
Bulls Audio.
Bulls?
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you. Okay, so here's the deal. I've got capacitors, ultra capacitors, lithium batteries, great big deep cell lead acid batteries. I have pretty much everything electrical in the world, and I can tell you for a fact that a 5 farad capacitor is not going to do jack diddly squat in your application. It just looks cool. Now, if you want to do something that actually does something, like in my car, I have the Maxwell bank. The Maxwell...
See, the only reason I've done it, of course, I wasn't very familiar on capacitors anyways, but I knew I've already got 2 batteries, and both of my batteries the cranking amps on them is actually, my cranking amps is 1405, and my cold cranking amps is 1105.
Yeah, you have plenty. With what you have plenty. That capacitor is literally doing nothing for you right now.
Then I'm not going to use it. Good. One less thing I got to worry about.
So if you look at my screen right now, I have these. I have this other set of capacitors pulled up. These are what I have in my car. So this is a Maxwell bank. It's actually like the size of like a small battery. But this is a bank of 3,000 farad capacitors, and the whole bank is 500 farads. So you're talking 5 versus 500.
Yeah.
So a farad, just a simple math for you, A farad is 1 amp for 1 second, right? So 1 amp per 1 second. So a 5 farad capacitor is giving you 5 amps. How many amps is your 2 amps, your two 1500s? How many amps are they going to pull together?
I don't remember what they will pull off the top of my head.
Probably a couple hundred, probably 200 or more.
Yeah, I think they stay on their side. It pulls a right smart good amount.
It does, yeah. So you're talking, we'll say 200 amps for both of them after impedance rise, right? Because your impedance rise is going to drop your amperage.
Yeah.
You're talking 200. What is 5 amps going to do on a 200 amp pool?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely jack diddly squat. Now here's the deal. If you have a 500 farad capacitor and it has 500 amps available, what is a 500 farad capacitor at 500 amps for 1 second? What is it going to do on a 200 amp pool?
It'll actually help it on that 500 if you're like the one you got.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm saying. The older capacitors with the lower numbers, they're literally useless in your application. But they do have capacitors. When people say that all capacitors are bad, they do offer capacitors like such, and they have a flat configuration and they have a rectangular configuration. So, and the cool thing about a capacitor is it's not a lead-acid battery and it's not a lithium battery, so you can hook them to literally any system and they work just fine. So you can hook it up to your stock system and get a ton of extra reserve power and not have to worry about it. But if you think about it, you might pull 200 amps at a max, but you already have over 200 amps worth of alternator on your pickup. So you're perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it at all. You have a diesel pickup with a big alternator and everything else, so.
All right. Well, help that other guy out that was, I don't know where he went.
I'm still here. I was listening to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, help him out. I mean, you about answered. I'm sorry to take up so much time, y'all.
No, you're fine.
I'm trying to learn from people that actually, I don't care who it's from, I'm just trying to learn from people who actually know more than what I do about audio stuff.
Yeah, see, you need more help because I got a bunch of different subwoofers and sub boxes. So, yeah. Trevor
got me lined out on my box. So we're going to do a 2x10 port, 18 inches long, and I'm going to get that other 1501 amp, and then we're going to see how it turns out before I seal it up completely.
Well, you have a rare situation where you have enough power to do so, and you actually have too much box. It is a rare situation to have too much box. So you can always take away. It's harder to add than it is to take away. So.
Oh yeah, I can always take the lid off of it and add another brace in, or add a rear dividing wall in order to take up more airspace.
For sure. And honestly, it sounds counterintuitive, but there has been times where I've like the anecdote I had earlier, where I had to take out upwards of half a cube of airspace because it just doesn't match the application you have. And a lot of, you got to realize this too. A lot of old school guys, Charles is one of them. I like Charles, but he's old school and he's used to building huge enclosures to get stuff to sound right. Whereas nowadays, when you have a more powerful, like I just showed you, between the Strato at 1200 watts versus the Ozone at 800 watts, that more powerful woofer requires less airspace to sound good versus a smaller power. And back in the day, most everything was smaller power. 800 watts was a lot back in the day. Nowadays, it's not.
Well, what's bad is when I first started off with the box, the way that I built it, I was literally, before adding on the back section, if you look at the pictures I sent you, before adding on that, you can actually see in the pictures where I actually added on more to it.
Did you send them already?
Yeah.
All right, let me look real quick.
where I had to add more onto it. So I actually used dowel pins in order to keep my joints held together with glue also. That way, when it based, I wouldn't have to worry about one of them sides blowing out.
Okay, where did you add your dowel pins to?
Let me get my messenger. Okay, so if you look at the very first picture and look at the side of it, and blow it up, you can see where there's the separation and two different boards between the pitches from the box and then the rear deck portion. There's actually dowel pins in that in order to keep it from wanting to push out with base.
I see. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like little wood dowels.
Yeah, I added 2 3/8 wood dowels in there in order to keep it from wanting to push out with base, because that's what I was afraid of. Is that even with it being glued, I was afraid it was going to blow out.
Well, you got to realize the wood glue, because you said you were using Type-On 3, right?
Yes.
So that's some stupid strong glue, man.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
For sure.
Oh, I know. I had to take some. Before I added that rear deck, I had to make some changes. That I never got that apart.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. All you need is the glue to seal up the box and hold it. You don't need screws. The screw is just to hold it till the wood dries. So you use those brads and clamps and stuff. It does the same thing. But I see you added a double baffle, and I really appreciate that, because your woofer really needs it. That the double baffle will help so much.
Are you talking about where I left the inner walls in order to make it the door? Never mind. Yeah, I added that double baffle after you talked to me about it.
Yes.
And I was confused on the whole deal of what you was talking about, and I added that in the very next day.
Well, do you see what I'm talking about? Where the thin wood will pull the screws out from the weight of the subwoofers?
Yeah.
So the subwoofer, being on its side, all that magnet is pushing down. Every time you hit a bump or something in the car, it's going to start stressing those screws. And before long, you'll start hearing rattling, and you don't know what it is. What it is your screws pulling out and leaving a little gap right there, and it's that woofers bouncing around in the hole. It happens quite often, actually, especially with really heavy woofers. So you add 2 of them, and you put a longer screw, an 1 5/8 screw through there, and it holds a lot tighter.
Now, since I'm looking at this picture and I'm talking to you about it, I would think it would help, because it would make it more like I guess you could say more like a chamber. How I have my inner structural walls that's for the lid, for the top portion of the lid, where I made that air chamber coming out of those boxes in order to go in that. If I make my 2x10, 18 inches long there in the center between both of those boxes and made it rear ported, wouldn't that help me with my issue also, because of it making it more kind of like a chamber type deal, where it's pushing air and then moving air, and then in order to zigzagging back and forth in order for it to be able to get out the port.
No, you don't want to do that. Porting to the front, just like we discussed.
Yeah.
You had the perfect opportunity to put a 2x10 port by 17 or whatever the length is on that.
18 inches long.
So 18 inches long at 2x10, right there ported to the front. You have the perfect opportunity here to do so.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily want all those zigzags going on, because that increases this thing called group delay, which, more stuff. You just want the chamber to be as close to. So how come your chambers aren't very deep on the sides? Is there a reason why you have this?
It's because of how my floor pan is made in my truck, and correlation with my seat also. They're 9 1/4 deep.
Yeah, I'm just talking about why they drop and then they come back up on the back of that box there, where it kind of gets real skinny. On the sides, it's the same as in the middle.
What, are you talking about just the baskets?
I'll show you right here. I'll send you a screenshot too.
Well, you guys, I'm gonna get off. My back is killing me from sitting.
Yeah. Okay. If you have any questions on, I know that you were kind of following along on the whole WinISD thing. If you have any other questions on the ISD, did you actually get your graph to pull up like mine?
No. No.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you
why.
show me the screen you have real quick.
Oh, I closed it out.
Oh, all right. Well, if you ever want to, you can just message me personally. I can help you go through it. But with the WinISD, you have to, if you want the little line to show up on the screen, like I had mine coming up, you still have you have to have a volume and a tuning frequency for that to pull up.
Oh, okay.
Did you have a volume and a tuning frequency put in there?
No, I couldn't get it to find that spot again.
On the bottom of the page where it says box?
Yeah. Yeah.
So on the bottom it just says box right there. That's where you enter your volume and your tuning frequency.
Yeah, for some reason it wouldn't. I don't know. This computer's like screwy.
Well, and the software is like 20 years old.
Couldn't bring it up. It probably froze.
Well, if you have any other subwoofer stuff, I can model stuff literally in a matter of, 2 minutes or so. So if you have any issues with needing something actually pulled up, I can help you do that as well. If you ever just message me or whatever, and if you ever want to, maybe we can sit down one-on-one and I can actually walk you through it. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I don't mind either way. So are you wanting to model something, or you just want to learn how to model something?
Oh, I just model something.
So if you want to model something to build, I'll help you do that at any time that you require.
Okay, that's fine.
And
like I said, I got a bunch of subwoofers and stuff, so I'm no big hurry.
No, okay. Well, if you ever come up to like a project that you're doing like right away, like I am, so I'm going to do those, the 3 woofers in the box there. And if you already have the specs of the woofer, say, the CT product, you can skip the whole WinISD part and go directly into the enclosure design port on the Subbox Pro.
Oh, okay.
So, because if you remember, I just went to the website and I pulled up the specs of the box based on the website there, and all I did was punch them into Subbox Pro, and I made me a subwoofer box.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So much easier.
Did you right click on that and then like transfer it over that way, or did you just type it all in?
What do you mean?
Like,
on the Subbox Pro?
Did you copy and paste, or did you type it all in?
No, because it's not that much. So on the for example, the Miso 8, right? You're looking at 0.75 at 39, or 0.5 at 34. So those are your numbers. You just times that by 2, and you add your airspace to there, or you add your woofer displacement, and then you just type all that stuff into the Subbox Pro. Then you type in your height, your width, material thickness. You just fill all this stuff in, and eventually you will end up with something that resembles a subwoofer box.
Oh, okay.
Then if you have any issues with it, if it decides it doesn't resemble a subwoofer box, you have to figure that out. You have to kind of play with the port area and play with the box volume until you have something that better resembles a subwoofer box.
Yeah.
So it's actually very easy, man, especially if you get to sit down and actually play with it. The Subbox Pro is probably the most useful tool, especially if you already know the specs of the woofer and you already know what it requires.
Oh, okay.
So WinISD is more for modeling subwoofers that you don't know the specs to, but then you've seen the situation where you go to buy a woofer and you buy it and it has no specs. So
like my woofer.
Yeah. So there's those issues as well. So I mean, there's a lot that goes into designing subwoofer enclosures. It's not exactly simple math, and like other dude here, he's going through a bunch of trial and error trying to figure his stuff out too. So, but that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to help you guys by offering maybe a little bit of my experience to maybe try to fill in some of these gaps.
Oh yeah, we appreciate it too.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I like doing it too, so it ain't nothing to me. That's kind of what I'm here for. I know that this is a very hard subject, and that's why people get paid a lot of money to design enclosures, and that's why some people who can design enclosures very well will just pay a guy $60 to do it because there's a lot that goes into it, and that guy, he's going to do it. He's going to put his name on it. It's going to be right.
Yeah. Well, that's what I do. I buy the design. I paid $5. I paid $8. I paid $45, and I just build them myself because I like building them.
Oh, for sure. Well, the software here, it just allows you to kind of cut out that middleman for stuff like, especially like CT products. So I rep CT products for a number of reasons. One of which is because they offer box specs, so it's super easy. Another thing is, they offer big power. Obviously with the amps I just bought, obviously they make a ton of power.
Yeah.
So they just make it easy to be loud, and they make it easy to sound good. It's hard to go wrong. But when you have a source like that gives you proper specs on the website, and we've actually modeled some of those specs here today and see that they're very accurate. It's hard to go wrong with anything that has specs from the factory or from the manufacturer or whatever.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much easier. I literally just go to the CT website, take those numbers, punch it into Subbox Pro, and I can build a box all day long to fit any different application just using the specs on the website.
Yeah. Hopefully one day I get that like that.
Well, it's a journey, man. And when you finally learn that, you won't even remember a time when you didn't know it. So that's just how it is.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later.
All righty. I appreciate you hanging out with me. It's been a good time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though it's frustrating.
It can be too. I take it for granted, but I have a more powerful computer. But I bought mine knowing that I need to do all the software and stuff, and I need it to just work properly. So, but I know that. So whenever my big computer, my Alienware, crapped out, I went to like a $300 Walmart computer for a couple weeks. So because I still had to model enclosures and I still had to do stuff, and it was frustrating trying to deal with this kind of software on a computer like that. It was very difficult. So I ended up doing most things on my phone, which was terrible. Yeah. So I get it, and I don't know what you have for a computer, but I can definitely understand.
It's a Walmart one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well,
but I had it cleaned out, and it's got Windows 10 on it, so.
Yeah, well, the thing I found, Walmart computers specifically, sometimes their hard drives are really slow, and everything else can be like super awesome, but they put a slow hard drive. It's like, I don't understand. Like, good hard drives aren't that expensive, so.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of what determines your speed too, so. I ended up putting an SSD in this other Walmart computer, and it made it to where I can actually use it. It just couldn't do any of the graphical stuff, so, I still use it. I have it for a backup, but it wasn't until I spent $50 on an SSD upgrade that they also sell at Walmart. It's almost like they're trying to get you to buy more or something,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you being on the live stream. And I don't want to be
having it. It's awesome to have all of us chatting like that.
Well, because think about the things that. Well, the problem is you won't even realize all the stuff that you've learned today just by listening.
Yeah.
Because now you already know them. But you may not realize the couple tidbits that you may have picked up along the way. That just helps us grow together. You may have picked one or two tidbits out of this whole thing that may change the way you do things from now on. So who knows?
Yep.
But that's what it's about, man, is just learning and constantly going and helping everybody out.
Yep, that's why I like it as a group.
That's what makes it fantastic.
I know a little bit of stuff that can help other people when you're not available.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool too. Obviously I work a full-time job and whatever, and I do this for fun because I'm tired of, you know, the other Facebook groups where you're on there and you're trying to help people and people are just so snooty and people just have the wrong information all the time, and it's like,
yeah,
it's
then
terrible.
They try to make it look like you're dumb. Yeah.
Oh my god! So a guy on my, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Okay, this guy on the YouTube, and I know the guys on YouTube are watching, so I'm gonna be very nice. But this guy on the YouTube says, you shouldn't, you know, a guy who knows nothing about speakers is out here reviewing speakers. And at first I was like, okay, that's a pretty bold statement, trying to say that I don't know anything about speakers, for one. Then he says, everybody knows that the magnet on the speaker needs to weigh more than the basket part of the speaker, otherwise it's garbage.
What?
Hey, listen, it's on YouTube, man. I mean, I can't make it up. So apparently the speaker is garbage because the magnet is smaller than the basket. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why they have Neo subwoofers.
Hey, you know, there's not. I don't know, man. You know, I didn't even try to reason with him. All I told him was, hey, I'm glad you're not reviewing speakers. That's
yeah.
You know, because you're like, everything will be garbage in his case, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You know, more powers. You know, especially because we were talking about that Walmart radio and the speakers they come with, and I said in the video, your cheaper speaker is not necessarily a problem because it doesn't need a lot of power, and your unit, the head unit, doesn't have a lot of power.
Yeah.
So I put a set of Miso 6.5s in my in-laws' truck, and they were super quiet. Now, they sounded good, but they were quiet all the way turned up on the radio because they require so much power, and the factory radio doesn't put out a lot of power, right? Now, mind you, we were already going through the process of putting a 4-channel, you know, but the 4-channel came later. So if you sell a powerful speaker with a cheap head unit, it's not working out of the box like it should, you know. There's nothing wrong with low power speakers if you are in a low power application. So, and a lot of people just don't understand that.
Yeah, I've got a 600 before for my 2-ways.
Dang.
Yeah, no kidding.
Boy, you got some power.
It's an old Kenwood Exelon.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the Exelon, they're clean stuff too, man.
I'm happy with it. I want to try one of the CT Sounds.
I'll tell you this, man.
84.
I wouldn't get any of the CT series. Well, in your case, you already have the T1, the CT 1500s, right?
Yeah. Well,
so
one of them.
You might check out the. Well, if you're are you gonna buy amp them? Like run active?
On the 1501.
No. On the door speakers, you can run one set per channel, or how do you run those?
Yes, mine's hooked up one set per channel.
Okay, so you're running a woofer and a tweeter per channel.
Well, I got the crossover boxes in my doors.
Yes.
So
you're running the crossover, the woofer, and the tweeter per channel, right?
Yes.
And you got 4 of those?
Yeah.
For the front and the rear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to want, on your Miso, they're looking at 150 watts RMS of 75 per channel, so an 80.4 at the smallest. Actually, the 2-ways are 160 total, so 80 per channel. So an 80 per channel is the smallest you would want to get for that. I can tell you this. I have the 60.4, the AT 60.4, which makes about 80 watts, 75, 80 watts per channel at 4 ohms at 14.4 volts. And it sounded good, but I needed a little bit more power. So I got the 125x4, and they scream.
Well, I'm just skeptical on getting one because my Kenwood, you know, it's been in there driving those door speakers for 4 years also, and it sounds great. It performs great.
Well, but a Kenwood Exelon amp is going to be a very good sounding amp. So as long as you're... Is what?
The amp that I've actually got, one of my buddies actually wanted to buy it, and you cannot find that same amp anywhere anymore.
Well, so that's one of the problems is you're not going to be able to find those older good amps. And I can tell you this, I've installed some recently, some Kenwood Excellent amps, and I was not impressed with them. I couldn't bi-amp them, or I couldn't go tri-mode, and I couldn't go 2 ohms per channel, and I really didn't understand it. It just kept cutting out. So I run the AT Series 4 channels, and I run the T Series 4 channels. The T60x4 is a super nice sounding amp. The T100x4 they don't even sell anymore, but I have 2 of them, and they are also phenomenal. They're very powerful. You're looking at 800 watts RMS on a 4 channel, so they can drive a complete set of 2 MISO components per channel. So you can run literally buy 4 boxes of MISO components and run them off that 1 amp. So I mean, you're talking some pretty good power. 100 watts per speaker, per woofer and tweeter, times 8 on 1 car. So that's what I'm going to do in my truck. Is I'm going to run 2 of the 100x4s, and I'm going to run some serious power to my doors on my truck. And I'm going to run probably 3 MISO 12s or 15s, depending on whatever they have in stock at the time. And yeah, got some big projects coming up. Of course, I got that Ozone. I got that 3000.1 to go on another truck, and I'll probably run a set of MISO 3-ways and a MISO 6.5-inch coax to go with them.
Well, you guys have a good rest of the night and a great weekend.
You too, sir, man.
Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later.
For sure.
All right. See you guys.
All right, bud.
Bye.
Now, let me ask you this real quick too, Trevor.
All right, let's do it.
Because it's not in the picture because I'm still working on trying to build it and get it all shaped right and everything.
Uh-huh.
But on the front, on the baffle face, it's not going to add any cubic feet. So it's literally just going to be glued to the face of the front baffle.
All right.
Is my cup holders that was in my truck OEM wise that I had to remove for this box. And so I was going to add them back in on that box. Can I run my port up through that and mold it in as like a rounded deal, and still have that 18 inches, or do I need to have 18 inches inside of my box and then run that portion that's like 4 inches out as a face, like a port face basically?
You would have to just show me, maybe like hold up a piece of wood or something to show me what you're talking about.
I ain't got it. I don't really got it made right now, and all my stuff's out in the shed.
You want to use the top portion of the port and put the cup holders on top of that?
No, so where my cup holders is actually going to be built, I could actually run the port through where the cup holders is going to be going. If that makes sense.
Well, you just don't want anything interfering with the port itself.
No, it wouldn't interfere with the port, but I didn't know if the port coming out of the box needs to be calculated in with 18 inches, or if that's like that outside portion is not what I would consider the 18 inches of port area, or not port area, but port length.
So you want to run the entire port outside of the enclosure enough for your cup holders to mount.
It would just be molded. It would just be molded in. So, like the cup holders, I wouldn't be interfering with the port none whatsoever itself. But
I would just have to see what you're talking about to determine if it's going to affect the tuning frequency. Because anytime you're affecting with the port length, inside or outside of the enclosure, you're going to have to account for, for the length of that, whether it's inside or outside.
Okay, so as long as I leave it to 18 inches, whether it's inside or outside, it don't matter, though.
Well, what you run into is if you take that 18 inches and you scoot 2 inches of it outside of the port, for example, Well, that's taking away 2 inches worth of volume on the inside, and that's going to jack the number up a little bit.
Gotcha.
So you may end up having to actually shorten the port because you're technically adding, a little bit of volume, etc., to that kind of stuff. So.
All right.
But if you do have any questions with that particular aspect of it, you can just send me a picture of what you're wanting to do. Maybe draw it on there or something, and I can tell you.
What I was really hoping to go with, because of my box design and how I'm actually trying to build it, I was really wanting to go with arrow ports because I like the way they look.
For sure.
And
they're just going to be hard to put in there.
And I've also got OCD, so I like everything being mirror imaged. So that's why I wanted to put the slot port in the rear, because I would only have one, and it would be in the middle of the box, and it would kill my OCD.
Being in the middle, you wouldn't like that?
Yeah. No, because it's not a mirror image. It's not. That's the whole reason why I ended up with 2 subs, because I couldn't live with just having one, because then the other side is naked.
Okay, so so what if you put a divider down the middle? Then you would have 2, one on each side.
Yeah, I reckon I could do that.
I mean, that would give you technically 2 ports, as long as you had, say, a 2x5 and a 2x5 of the same length, and you put a little divider down the middle. It wouldn't be necessary, but it would help your OCD situation. Because I was looking at here, I'm thinking, well, what if you just put a 2x5 on each side, right? But your length being the way it is, it's not going to flow right. Yeah, it won't flow right. I don't know. That's the best I can tell you, is the 2x10 in the middle would be a good start. But
alrighty, will do.
Alrighty, well, I guess I'm gonna hop off of here, man. There's quite a lot of people on the YouTube having a little chat going on. They're doing some other stuff too, so.
Alright, well, I'll let you get back to it, Trevor.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time and help with everything.
You'll see me on the Facebook group, the All Things Car Audio Facebook group, pretty much all the time. So if you ask anything, I'm bound to see it. Of course, you can also PM me directly if you want anything, if you have any sort of question or whatever. So.
Well, my main concern was why I hadn't finished the box, because I could have had the top box finished days ago, but I could not for the life of me, no matter what I've done, all the different, Subbox Pro, I tried the 12 volt, all of them was coming up with the same, roughly within the same, port, whether it was arrow or slot, but the numbers wasn't sounding right to me in my head for what the subs and what the box is.
Well, and that's true, and a lot of that could be because your box is, like you said, probably too big. So, but I can tell you this: if you build a 10-inch by 2-inch port and you put it in there at 18 inches long and you seal the top up and you play the woofers, I can tell you how you can determine your frequency at home without having any special tools, and we can go from there if you'd like.
All right, I'll do that. I won't bother you. I'll seal it up and get it all done, and I ain't gonna bother you with finding out that frequency and getting in touch with you on that until I get that second amp.
Oh, all right. Okay, so you're not. Well, you don't need a powerful amp to determine your tuning frequency.
Okay.
So you can do that with typically I'm running quarter volume or whatever to determine tuning frequency. It doesn't have to be super loud.
Okay.
So, alrighty, I will catch you on the Facebook page, my friend.
Alright, will do.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Bye.